So hello and welcome back yet again. Today we are going to go exploring Northern Stranglethorn, which honestly to do an in-depth guide of would take hours. We're just going to hit the highlights because it's a big zone and there's a lot that's going on in there. And there's a lot of really cool stuff and a lot of awesome memories that I have connected with this zone, so let's just jump into it. Alright, so we're going to run through this from an alliance perspective first. We might touch on some of the Horde stuff because there are a couple of Horde bases here and a couple of alliance bases. The first one, if you're alliance coming out of Duskwood, you are going to hit the Rebel camp. There's not an inn, as you can see. It's just kind of a little, just a little campsite, basically. It is what it says. But if you are someone who is a recipe completionist, this guy right here, the camp trader, Corporal Bluth,
I supply
has
only
a couple
the finest
of
goods.
recipes that are good to get for roast raptor and jungle stew.
Be careful.
So if you are a recipe completionist and you are looking for those, he is always one that I stop by and pick up his recipes. Now, one of the coolest things that you run into... Now, at the Rebel camp, they send you to two different places. One of the first places that they send you off to is Curzon's compound, which is over here. And they want you to see what's going on over here, try and break up. I think it's a death cult. It's been a while since I've done it because I honestly usually skip this one. I have done it, but it's been a very long time. As you can see, they've got a nice little compound here. Tons and tons of jungle fighters. Couple nice little houses, and if you didn't have to fight people off every 2 seconds to get into them, they would be great houses. And a big old cave back here at the back side of it that again is filled with all sorts of people to fight. I don't remember what you're doing except you're trying to get their, I think it's a potion that you're getting, but I don't remember, and I am a terrible YouTuber who didn't look it up. And like I said, this is not a quest I usually do as often as my favorite quest chain, which is in here, which might just make it into a favorite quest chains video because it's kind of iconic. But you do all your stuff over here with Curzon's compound, you take it back to the Rebels, and you turn everything in. And the next place they send you off to is Nessingwary Base Camp. And back in the day, I cannot tell you how many hours I spent doing these quests. And when the Cataclysm hit, they didn't change that much. They did change a little bit. Specifically, you don't have to run all over creation trying to get every single page of the Green Hills of Stranglethorn book. Thank goodness. I don't think I ever actually completed that entire book before the Cataclysm dropped. I was so mad. I can't remember which page it was, but there was always one page that was really hard to get that you could usually get on the auction house, but I was too stubborn to get it on the auction house, and back then I was far too poor to be paying real gold for it, so I just spent a lot of time killing things in Stranglethorn, hoping it would drop, and I don't think it ever did. Now, thankfully, all you have to get is page 13, and it usually drops really fast, and then you're done. But Hammett Nessingwary is an interesting character, and we actually have Hammett Nessingwary Jr. that is here in Stranglethorn Vale because his father has moved on to bigger and better things. And like I said, I will probably do all of the Nessingwary quests in every expansion as their own separate series just because they're fun. They're really great if you're a leather worker / skinner because you're going to be killing everything. Hammett Nessingwary Jr. and Sr. are big game hunters extraordinaire, and they are going to have you killing literally everything. But it is a really good way to level up. Now, after we leave Mr. Nessingwary's quest, a lot of what you find in Stranglethorn are trolls. There are trolls everywhere. You have got troll ruins. If you're into archaeology, there are several archaeology points over here. Also, like I said, there are 2 horde camps that we will check out. One thing that I found that was very interesting, that if you're into places to just kind of hang out with friends, or if you are like me into RP and always looking for more interesting places to do RP, I had never really noticed before, here past the Zuldaya ruins, this wall that separates Duskwood from Stranglethorn is really kind of neat, and there's almost a nifty little ruined tower here that's kind of like your own little hangout spot. So if you're looking for another just little secret base for your guild, that's not a bad one. Also down here you've got a couple of little islands. This island coming up is really fun. You do have a quest that will send you here. I think it's on the horde side, because you have to take out this basilisk matriarch who has turned all of these trolls into statues. It's a lot of fun. Not gonna deny it. Also, if you have a way of doing underwater breathing, the underwater scenery here is just beautiful. And you'll find a lot underwater here of just night elf ruins and things along those lines. I haven't found any secret caves or anything underwater here, but that's not for lack of trying. What else is in Northern Stranglethorn? Now that I was thinking about it, there is still a lot here, but there's even more when you head into Southern Stranglethorn, or as it's called, just plain old Stranglethorn. But it all used to be one before the Cataclysm, and it got sundered in half, which does make it a little bit easier for questing. But not always a little bit easier for remembering what the heck you're doing. Alright, what else can we look at here? As we go past Nessingwary's expedition, we approach another horde area, which is Bombala, and I think that is right over here, and a lot of ruins. And I went the wrong way again, because darn it, I am a good YouTuber. Anyway, so for Nessingwary's quest, you will be killing all of the tigers, you will be killing all of the panthers, you will be killing all of the raptors, and each one will culminate in one final kill that you will turn into Nessingwary. Now over here we have a goblin area. This is Venture Company Operations Center. Horde or Alliance, these goblins are quite hostile to you, and you end up doing a lot of quests down here. Also, as we go over here, back to Curzon's place, the windows were very welcoming looking. Alright. Just ahead is Bombala, and what used to be a really big raid and is now a dungeon, and that is Zul'Gurub. Interestingly, if you skip the dungeon entrance and you just fly into Zul'Gurub, you will have an uninstanced troll playground, completely empty of all enemies, and just a place where you can come and hang out to your heart's content. Every one of these buildings is empty. Every one of these buildings is yours for the taking. You can do anything you want here. It's actually really cool to just come and hang out. This would be a good place if you were a Zandalari troll, say, to just come and have your own troll house. I really like this area. Like, if you want your own city, this is a good one to have. So I'm not going to do too much exploring in here, because if you play World of Warcraft, just come and explore this place to your heart's content. Bring your guild with you and just go to town. It's a gorgeous area. And I'm fairly certain that all of these ponds can actually be fished in. I don't think they're going to have any actual fishing in them, as far as, you know, schools of fish, but it's all fishable. But yeah, if you ever wanted your own troll village, or maybe even temple complex, that is the place to do it. Back in the day when Zul'Gurub was a raid, I don't think I ever ran it, even when I was running raids and dungeons a lot more often, but I do remember pairing up with a friend of mine, and we would have to be partied up so he could go solo it, desperately trying to get a very rare mount that dropped in there before Cataclysm hit and they revamped everything. I don't think he ever got it. Now, if you are an Alliance player, you can come right over here, and I think he might have recipes or quests for some people, but there is a random Alliance guy, the artisan blacksmith of the Mithril Order, out here behind the Horde stronghold of Bombala. So that is something. If you didn't know he was there, now you do. Now, coming up ahead is something, honestly, I didn't know this was here until just a couple weeks ago. And it kind of blew my mind because, like I said, I have been running around Stranglethorn for years and never actually ventured above the Moshag Ogre Mounds. But if you venture above the Moshag Ogre Mounds and back to the back of this little valley, there's a small house with 2 gnomes. And it is a full-on gnome house. Like, you've got this tiny little bed, you've got the tiny little chairs. So if you have a gnome, you have a little house. And more importantly for engineers, both of these little gnomes are engineers that sell each of them a fairly rare engineering classic blueprint.
Pleased to meet you.
So Naz Blunderflame sells the schematic for the deadly scope.
Be seeing you.
And his friend Naz.
You're a tall one.
Oh, it's Knaz and Gunaz Blunderflame, the brothers. He sells the schematic for the mechanical dragonling. It's a trinket. And if you are a completionist and you happen to be an engineer, it's a lot cheaper to buy those recipes here than it is to hit the auction house to buy them. So that is something that I only recently learned, and I think I have to give all credit to, I think it was Humedrix or Humedrix, who is another YouTuber, much bigger than I'll ever be, who pointed out those gnomes, and I immediately had to go find them. Now, coming up ahead, we have a couple more spots that are really good archaeology spots. Also really good if you go to the northern portion of Northern Stranglethorn. It's a great place to get tin. If you go to the southern portion of Northern Stranglethorn, there's iron everywhere, and it's a really good mining loop because it's all kind of packed really close together. So if you're doing your mining, it is an absolute wonderful place to go. Got a few more troll areas and a couple more troll caves. You will have quests all over dealing with them. Now the last place for Alliance is Fort Livingston, which is right down here. Another questing hub. And I think that this is the one that has... Yes. No? That is the Priestess. I thought that this could be the one that has a troll that you're helping out, but that actually might be in Stranglethorn Vale. Anyway, so that is pretty much it from the Alliance side. Now, one other thing you might want to keep in mind is if you're like me and you get bored and you decide to go swimming in the Sundering, don't. You will die. It is not... It's pretty much instant, and we're going to do it now, and then when we come back, we will have Onyx take us into the Horde areas. So, sorry, Beryl. Hate to do this to you. But we're going to go swimming in the Sundering, and as you can see, it's an instant kill. So, don't do that. It's a good way to kill your character. Alright, so now we are in Grumgull with Onyx, and one of the cool things about this is you actually have a Zeppelin that will take you back to Ogrebar, and you have a portal that can take you to Undercity. Not sure if with the phasing it will take you to Undercity or just near Undercity these days, but since I don't think I have Beryl, or not Beryl, but Onyx actually leveled up, and having done those quests, I don't think she can go anywhere but Undercity, because I have time set to the past for her. Now, Grumgull is your typical orc settlement. There's not a lot here, but there is at, I think it is this trade, yes, Narist, who sells trade goods. She has rope roast raptor, the curiously tasty omelet, and jungle stew. So she has one more recipe than you can get at the Alliance vendor that sells pretty much the same thing. Now, one cool thing about Stranglethorn is Hammett Nessingwary is an equal opportunity big game hunter, and he will give quests to both the Horde and the Alliance. So everybody can do his quests, and it's a lot of fun. I definitely do suggest those quests. One thing I forgot to show with Beryl is right up here you have Stephen Lisbane, who, if you are into pet battles, does a pet battle daily. Alliance side only. Most of the Horde pet battle dailies I will be showing you on the other continent back in Classic, which is Kalmandor. But pretty much it's all Alliance over here. But I forgot to show that with Beryl, so there he is. Don't worry, Beryl was resurrected back at the Spirit Healer. She's fine. Now we're going to go check out Bombala. Again, it's a very typical troll settlement. Not much to it, but you know, I'm a completionist, so we're gonna go check it out. Now, like I said, the coolest part that I like about Northern Stranglethorn, other than the Hammett Nessingwary quests, is uninstant Zul'Gurub. It is the most fun place on Earth to just go run around. But here we are in Bombala. Again, it's a lot of different quests. I don't think that there are any special vendors here or anything. One thing Alliance players do have to keep in mind is the final Panther, which is, I think, Bagthera, can and will occasionally spawn, like, there is Bangthera right there. It's the final Panther quest for the Hemet Nesingwary series. Occasionally, she likes to go walking all the way through Bimbala, and if you are an Alliance player, sometimes you can end up getting ganked by the Horde guards. So keep that in mind and be careful. Now, the only other thing that is over here, which I think Alliance players can go into, is just this kind of cool little troll temple-y type area. I don't know what you would call it. It's just kind of neat to run through. And that is about it. A lot of what I was thinking of other cool stuff, we will be seeing next week when we go through regular part of Stranglethorn Vale. But that is about it. Let me know about your memories of Hemet Nesingwary, and have you done all of the Hemet Nesingwary quests? I feel kind of bad, and when you do the Nesingwary quests in Wrath of the Lich King expansion, you can also do the opposite, which is the Dita, which is basically WoW's version of PETA, where you're fighting against Hemet Nesingwary, but what can I say? I always have at least one Skinner and Leatherworker in my roster of alts, so I always appreciate the Hemet Nesingwary quests, because you're killing so many animals and getting all of those skins, and it's kind of wonderful. So, let me know down below what your memories are of Stranglethorn, either before or after the Cataclysm, and I will see you next week when we go do the rest of Stranglethorn Vale. Until then, have a good one.